So Josh is going to take it from here for a while, and Josh, you can take it the whole way if you want. So Josh is going to light up the PowerPoint, and you probably got some notes from Beth. If you printed them out, you can kind of follow along and fill in the blanks if you want. We'll try to make it so it helps you remember a few things that we tell you. So anyway, Josh, go ahead.
This is where Dan is setting me up right now. He's gonna let me take over, and then he's gonna start criticizing me.
Exactly.
Let's see. All right, let me share my screen really quick. That is not it. Where we at? One sec.
While Josh is doing that, it's March 19th, Sunday night, 5:48 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is a recording of the first class. So just for you know what recording it is. So Josh is working on sharing his screen. It always works well when you practice.
Right, I was gonna say we were just sharing it. Everything went smooth.
It should be at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, here we go. Okay, let me pull up the power slide. Okay, I think I got it. Share screen.
You got it.
We're good?
You're good.
Awesome. All right, so Given University, first, it's a pleasure to be here and have this opportunity with you guys. I'm excited for you guys because Given University has tremendously changed my life and touches me. Every single time I go on a trip, it humbles you. It just makes your heart feel full. It opens your eyes to seeing and thinking about others more than you think about yourself. Makes you more grateful for your life and what you have. And it just increases the level of compassion and generosity that you operate in. So everyone in this group is pretty generous, obviously. You wouldn't be doing a class or taking Given University if you weren't a generous and caring person. But no matter what level of generosity you're at, it will get increased through this organization. So Given University is an organization. It's not a religious group like Dan was saying. We go on trips all the time, and there's Mormons, Catholics, Christians, atheists, people who don't even believe in God, but all coming on this trip, coming together in agreement for the sake of others, to help others. And I love that. They partner up with nonprofit organizations all over the world in all different countries and help them. But the best thing is that they donate to them, not just with funds, but with their time, their resources, connection, and then also finances as well, too. So they have an impact all over the world. And it's just a great opportunity to be a part of that organization and be able to just touch lives. I went to Lebanon with Given University back in October. Powerful, amazing trip out there. I've been down to Mexico a couple of times, and then I'm going back again in 2 months. I think it's in May, coming up soon here. So to define generosity, does anyone want to give their example or their definition of what generosity is?
I can go. So
Okay.
To me, generosity is to give up, to give either financially, your talents, to give in any form or way that you can do it for whatever you have to give.
I love that. I love that. Great definition. Anyone else want to throw out a definition of generosity? No right or wrong answers here. Hannah and Owen, my college students, you guys want to throw one out there?
Maybe being kind and not expecting anything in return.
I love that. I love that definition. Giving without expecting something in return. Generosity. How about you guys, Hannah and Owen?
I really liked Lucy's definition of just whatever it is that you have, whether that is like funds or your talents, giving what you have and sharing it with other people in any way.
So in college, they call that plagiarism.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not in that sense. Let's maybe not do that.
No, but that's amazing. Yeah, she hit it right on the head. Jason hit it right on the head. Another big thing about generosity too is, what are you giving? Because, for example, I could be a millionaire and I could write a $10,000 check to an organization, and to most people, 10,000 is amazing. That's a huge donation. That's a sacrifice. I'm being generous. But to me, it wasn't that big of a sacrifice. I'm not really giving something that means a lot to me. It's something very small to me. But for like anyone who believes in the Bible, for example, there's a story in there about the widow who comes to the temple, and she gives just a few pennies as an offering. But Jesus looks at her and says she gave more than anyone else because she gave everything that she had. That's generosity, is giving something that means a lot to you. And just like Jason said, without expecting anything in return. You don't just have to be generous with your finances, but it's with your time, resources, your energy, whatever you can give, but as long as it means something to you. That's what being generous is. Finding your passion. Dan, what exactly do you want to talk about right here?
Well, first of all, let me make a couple comments. I've never met, or I rarely meet, anybody that doesn't think they're generous. So what we do in giving university classes is my goal, or the goal of the group I work with, is we really want to increase your generosity no matter what level you're at. If you're like a cheapskate, if you're a super generous person and you're taking the class to maybe learn a little more, whatever it is, our goal is to increase it by 10% and maybe more. But basically, that's what we do, is we just try to lift it up and make it just a little bit more. So these are the three main sections of our class tonight. Is one was university. We're going to do a little more on introducing giving university. And then section 2 is defining generosity, and 3 is finding your passion. So if you want to hand me back the let me share the one video. I tend to share videos a little bit because I think sometimes I know people get bored listening to just one person. So anyway, let me take a look here and find that video. It's here somewhere. And I think it's right here. So we're going to talk a little bit. One of the sections is passion. And so I'm going to share a little bit about what I think passion is. A kind of a sample of passion. So let me get that here. And I'll ask you if you can hear it. That's when we do the class, sometimes the audio is the most interesting part of what we do, because sometimes it doesn't work. That's why it's interesting. So I'm going to share this with you and just ask you if you hear it. So hang on just a second. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is really an example of passion. This video that's a minute and
people must have home, they must have food, they must have family. It's not God's problem, my problem. My name is Gennady. We take children from street, we find a family for them. Наркотики, которые вы продаете много лет, убивают людей. So sad, but that's Ukraine.
The problem of street children in Ukraine grew after the breakup of the Soviet Union.
When this war came to my city, I was destroyed inside.
Если общество помалкивает и молча хоронит сыновей, тогда поднимается Робин Гуд.
He was homeless before, but can you see that? We dream about good future for our country. This is a real Ukraine. I feel like Superman, like real hero.
So that's a short video clip. This is from 4 years ago, by the way. And it's about a man that has passion. And what I tell people a lot is one way to increase your generosity is hang around people that have a real passion for being generous. People that are just lights out, that just make a really significant difference in the world. And in Almost Holy, the gentleman in there, Gennady, is like a John Wayne of the Ukraine. He has opened up many orphanages. He's opened up halfway homes. He's fought in the war. And we don't take sides on the war, but I mean, they've been in a war forever over there. And so he just was a great example. We were privileged to take one of our GU trips and spend some of our time with Gennady. And it was just a really significant trip in many respects, and just really exciting. So that's just a little sample of passion, a little sample of some of the things that we do on our trips. And it's just a really great movie. If I'll send you the link. I think it's a free movie now. It's called Almost Holy. And it's a really good short documentary of Ukraine actually before the war. It won some awards at the New York Film Festival. The producers were actually going to make a movie of the previous leader of the Ukraine who had been assassinated before the guy that's there now, probably 10, 15 years ago. And they changed their movie from that person to Gennady. So they shifted what they did, and then they won some awards for the movie. So we'll send you out a link if you want to take a look at it. It's up to you. So anyway, Josh, you can go ahead with go ahead and pick it up.
Okay, I think you have a video right now of C. Bray talking about why he launched Giving University.
Okay, we'll do that next. So let me go find that real quick.
All right.
And since we're doing the slides here, and I got to share again, so stand by. And Steve Bray, go ahead and speak. Well, I'll just go ahead. Steve Bray is the founder and the owner of Power Plus and also Giving University. And we're going to show you a little bit of how Giving University started, or why it started. It started, I think, in 2005 and really got going for about 4 years. And then we had 2008. And the goal at 2008 was to stay in business, because that's really when everything crashed. So Giving University was dormant for 3 or 4 years, and then we started back up probably in 2013 or 14, somewhere in there. So let me go back and share the video and do this properly. You guys can hear that okay, correct? Hello, hello?
Yeah, we can hear it.
If I look back at my life, I had 3 distinct points of calling, or really a change in my whole direction. One was in 1975, I became a Christian, and I went from just partying and craziness at 18 to realizing that there was something better and bigger, and something more, add more purpose. And so I started to walk with Jesus. The second one was when I thought I wanted to be a pastor, and I came to realize that my skills would be better used in building a company and then using those proceeds to help people in need. In 2005, what I call calling 3 was, we're really good at this. we need to formalize this into what we now call the Giving University. And that's where we literally go around the world and impact people that have need. So that in 2005, that was when that was born.
Yeah. When you do this, your videos sometimes keep on rocking and rolling. So anyway, that Steve was the founder of Giving University. He took a trip to South Africa with his son when he started doing well, and his son wasn't really impressed with the nonprofit that was working there, and so Steve really thought a lot about all the giving stuff. And you have when you do well in business, you have funding that you can provide for people. And so he came up with a real unique idea, which is called the Giving University. And his goal was to teach generosity to people and have the group of people help him pick the nonprofits that the funds would go to. And so that was really the genesis of all this, was getting people engaged. When you're in a Giving University class, we give you $1,000 to grant to a local charity, and you get to pick it. For the most part, we do have some guidelines, but he wanted to enlist a group of people to help him decide how to do the funding and how to really kind of get a good spread. And at the same time, teach people or give them some insight on generosity. We're not experts on generosity. We've been at it for a while, but we're always learning ourselves, and we're always asking for input. And in our last class I taught, I got some input on one organization that we were using, and they had slipped out of the kind of the safe range of what we like to see in a nonprofit. And so we're always learning and trying to understand better ways of being generous, because in many ways, a lot of you are maybe more generous than I am or Josh is. And so we're always learning from people and getting input from them. So what we try to do is learn a little bit of some of the things we've seen and that we've come to get some education on, and then we share it with people. All right, Josh, was that all the videos, or?
That was it. Yep.
Okay, so I'll be back later.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So introducing Giving University still, the mission statement for Giving University is to ignite generosity, leave the world a better place. I love that because it's just very simple, very direct and straightforward. Ignite generosity in people and leave the world a better place overall. The vision is to instill, demonstrate, and promote generosity through informed, charitable giving and through educating generations on the principles and impact of giving. I love how it says through educating generations, because on these trips, you'll have people who are college students, 20s, 30s, all the way up to their 60s and 70s on these trips. And it's just amazing because it's so many different generations, all getting touched, all learning about how to become more generous and impacting people all over the world. My favorite part of this statement, though, is through informed charitable giving, because Giving University and Power Plus, the company funding it, they don't just give money to any organization. What they really do is they test each organization, they do thorough research on each organization, they see the impact that they're having in the community, and then they have formulas and certain standards and criteria that the organization has to meet in order to receive a grant from Giving University. And I love that because, like I said, there's several organizations who are out there who are fundraising, asking for money, things like that. But are they truly having an impact in their community? Are they truly bettering their community and leaving it a better place? This is what you're going to learn at Giving University, is to how to determine if that organization is the level of impact that they're actually having in their community or in their niche that they're trying to help. So there's going to be the one assignment that Dan was talking about, it's just one assignment throughout this whole course, which I think it's like a 7-week course. Very easy, but you actually get to choose an organization in your area that you want to donate to, and Giving University is going to actually fund that for you. But you're going to have to do your own research on the organization. And we'll get into all that in week 2, I think, but it's a very cool little project that you get to do. Doesn't cost you a single penny. You're going to be able to hand an organization of your choice a check on behalf of you and Giving University to help them out. So for example, kind of a side note, but we went out to Lebanon in October, and we seen, I think it was 9 or 10 different organizations in like a 4 or 5 day span. We visited with these different organizations. And we went to see them in person. We went to them, got to look at the impact that they were having on people's lives there, met with different board members, different people of their organization. We were able to interview and ask them questions about their budget. What are their plans? What do they need fundraising for? Oh, we need more computers for the kids. Okay, but what do you want to use those computers for the kids for? We really went into a detailed analysis of that organization, and then we determined how much funding do they actually need. And this is all skills that you guys are going to be able to learn through Giving University. So the GU vision is accomplished through training classes that apply to people of all backgrounds, religions, political affiliations, and all financial situations. Again, that's big because, yeah, Steve Bray, he had 3 different callings in his life, right? And the first one was when he started walking with Jesus. But does that mean you need to be a believer in Christ to be a part of Giving University? No. One of my favorite people actually on all my trips I go on is Jeremy. Dan knows, he works for Power Plus. He doesn't believe in God, but this guy has one of the biggest hearts I've ever met in my life. He's an amazing man, very generous, very giving, very loving, very kind. So again, it doesn't matter what religion or political affiliation or what your belief system is or where your faith is in. There's all different types of backgrounds that come together to Giving University. Allowing students and graduates to propose grants to organizations. This is the $1,000 grant I was telling you about. So the grants I did when I went through Giving University, I found a nonprofit that was here local in my city. They help out single mothers who lost custody of their kids for drug addiction or going to jail or prison or anything of that sort. This organization, nonprofit, they take those mothers, they rehabilitate them, they train them and educate them how to be a better mother, how to improve in their budgeting and finances, they help them get a job or become a business owner. Once they're fully rehabilitated, they help take them to court and get custody of their kids back. And I love that because I don't like to see children grow up in the foster care system or in a single parent household. And they're also educating these women of color in a city where that's a huge need. So I love the impact they're having in their community. I wrote my grant on them. It got approved by Giving University. Giving University mailed me $1,000 check to go hand that organization. Really cool, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't know any other organization that does that. I'm a small business owner who works with other businesses. I don't see any business doing something like this. I'm sure there might be a couple out there, but I haven't ran into them yet. So I say that just to say how unique Power Plus and Giving University is and how generous they are.
Let me say this also, Josh, is our goal, we don't ask for money. Obviously, we're teaching you on generosity. And if you learn to give more money, that makes us excited. So one of the things we like to see with these grants is, in a way, it introduces you to something in your community you may not have been aware of, that you have interest or a passion for. And we also hope and want you to consider extending that relationship with that nonprofit to maybe staying in touch by email. I call one term I use is giving them a high five. And by that, I mean you give them $5 a month, which probably most any of us can afford, because our goal is to grow our goal in all this is to grow your generosity and is to grow relationships with these organizations that you find, because normally if we approve it and you like it, it's usually a really good organization. And so that's, we're more in, the 7 weeks fly by, the $1,000 is nice, but really we just hope to extend that into the future and a relationship that you build with a nonprofit in your community. Our rule kind of is it has to be a nonprofit within about 100 miles of where you live. We do have also, we provide funding for 2 trips. One is called service trip, one type of trip. We'll get into more as we do the class, but that's a more local trip where you kind of participate in working, painting, construction, maybe teaching kids stuff. And so those are trips that tend to be more local in the United States. We do some of them also in Mexico. And so those are called service trips. And then so you get one of those, and then we pay for everything. And then we do 2 overseas trips or big trips where you go to, like we went to Lebanon. This year we're going to Cuba, Taiwan, Taiwan. We're going to a bunch of places, Cambodia. And so on those trips, it's not so much the hands-on work that you do, although there is some of that, but it's more trying to discern how well those groups use the funds that they get from grants. And we end up giving university grants at least $50,000 for all the stuff you see. And then if your group raises another $25,000, we match that. So it could be $100,000 worth of grants that go on the bigger trips. A new piece that we've added that's really exciting is the kids piece of Giving University. We found an organization in Mexico that builds homes, small homes for people that are in the Ensenada area, and we were trying to expand Giving University to kids, and so we ended up, it all worked together where we could have kids do classes like this, except on a much reduced level, and those kids could go down to Mexico and build some homes, and they could participate in the home building. The group we work with has a rule that the kids can be like newborns. So because when we were putting it together, I said, what's your rules? And the rules is there were no rules. But we at Giving University, to get them through class, we usually start them out at age 6, because they have to have a certain amount of maturity to get through some of this. And so that's what we're trying to do. I'm going to show you this one video, if I can find it. Are there any questions, by the way? We've been kind of yapping away here. Any comments, questions so far?
I have a question.
Sure.
So it seems like Giving University is just give and give and give. Where is the income to Giving University? I mean, where did they get money to give? Is that only his money?
Giving University is funded by Power Plus. It's a separate organization, and Power Plus, like the gentleman on our class here, is one of our vendors. And so Power Plus, we do temporary power, generator power, all kinds of stuff. And Power Plus funds all the stuff that we do. And so we don't ask, we do have people that give us funds from time to time, just because, it's so different, and they just like to, they just trust us. So sometimes we get extra funds, but for the most part, it's just Power Plus. I always tell people the trips work until we don't make money. So,
Thank you.
that's kind of the way we do it.
Okay.
And oh, we're on the share.
Been
You guys can hear that okay?
Yes.
And this one is what the kids part.
my experience with GU has been pretty awesome for myself and my wife, both my daughters, Lily and Charlotte. We took the program last year, and it was a great experience just to have all four of us come together for the 8-week experience, learning about the way the nonprofits work and the charities, and that was a great experience for each and every one of us to go to our different spot. Very, very cool experience. Recommend it. And I mean, it's just amazing to get these families a nice house and good shelter. So again, it's been great for the kids. They're learning how to use the power tools and working together, and what a great opportunity working with the family. Personally, I think me and my family, we're gonna start to learn Spanish because it's very hard for us to communicate with the family without the translator. So that's one thing that I would really want to do with my family this next year is to learn the basics just for communication. Just honored to be a part of this and bless the family. And Hugo, thank you for everything you guys do. GU, thank you for everything you guys do, and thank you for having us.
So that's the part where we kind of bring in the whole family. So we'll add more as we can for the kids. This works out really well because Mexico's fairly close. It's a good program. It's well managed. It's safe, and it's a lot of fun for the kids. That's for sure. And we do get a house built after 4 days or 5 days for the families that are. It's basically families that are coming up north through Mexico, and they're landing in south of Ensenada, and they're working the fields. And Ensenada is really a booming area, and so they just kind of get lost in the shuffle because they get the land sometimes fairly cheaply, but then they just can't do much else beyond that. So anyway, we have, just to give you a little commercial, we have 4 weeks still open if we can get people through our classes in June and July. And my goal last year was 6 houses, and we got 4 built. So I was kind of bummed out because I figured, if we're paying for everything, then I got a year to do it. Should be easy, right? So it didn't happen. We just donated the extra money to two more houses. But it's just such a fabulous thing for kids, especially American kids. Even as tough as our country can be sometimes, it's just not even, it's just night and day. All right, Josh, keep on going.
All right. Share this thing.
On the trip Josh and I are going on in a couple of weeks, it's also to Mexico, and it's also a very good trip. We're going to an orphanage for a couple of days. And what's exciting this year is that orphanage, the gentleman that runs it, he's kind of crazy. He's just all in, and it's a fairly new orphanage for Mexico. And over the 10 years that he's been with his kids, he has such a vision that he's expanding it beyond 18 years old. At 18 in Mexico, they can't be in orphanages anymore. But we're going to help him launch and just do a little piece of a new house he's building in town for the transition years that orphan kids will run into between the ages of 18 and 22, 23. Really fun, really exciting.
Daniel, is that Door of Faith?
No.
Okay. We've donated to Door of Faith on behalf of Power Plus a couple times.
Yeah. I think we've helped a couple orphanages, but it's a different orphanage.
Got it.
All right. And Dan won't brag too much about Power Plus. That's the company that funds Given University, but I'll brag about them. They're a huge nationwide company, multi-million-dollar organization, very big company, and they do amazing things. And the owner, Steve Bray, the more money that his company makes and profits from, the more they give back to the community. My personal belief is that God is blessing that company because of how much they give. That's why they keep growing and growing. It's my personal belief. The Bible does, the word of God does say that when you lend to the poor, you lend to God and he will pay you back. So I just love to see that the more they grow, the more they're giving back to communities all over the world. It's very powerful. Okay, this is, we kind of did this already, Dan, introducing GU, defining generosity and finding your passion. Is there anything you wanted to go over again there, or just keep moving?
I'll keep on going because we're still a little bit on defining generosity.
Gotcha. Okay. Write down your best definition of generosity, and we will have a few of you share your definition. A couple of you already shared, but let's just take a quick 30 seconds to a minute. Everybody write down your best definition of generosity based off everything that we spoke about. If you don't have a pen and paper, you could jot it down in the notes in your iPhone as well, too. And it could just be a quick 1-sentence definition. We're not requiring an essay or nothing here. All right. Does anyone want to share their definition if they've finished?
I can share. I haven't shared yet.
Awesome. Okay. Let's hear it.
Okay. I just put selflessly giving of your resources without expectation of payback or recognition.
I love that definition. That sounded amazing, actually. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share theirs?
I can share mine.
Okay.
I have being kind and helping those in need.
Being kind and helping those in need. Nice. All right. Maybe one more. Anyone else want to share that hasn't got to share yet? Dan will start calling on people if you don't volunteer.
I got mine.
Yeah, okay. Let's hear yours.
Yeah. Is sharing resources, maybe it can be money or even time. And that's when you're not expecting something back.
Yes, I love it. I love how you said time too, because time is the most valuable thing anyone has. Where you put your time at that's what shows me where your heart is where does your time go to? So I love how you mentioned time without expecting anything back. So on this side, you'll see what is generosity. Our definition is freely giving or sharing things we value for the benefit of others. All right, freely giving or sharing things that we value for the benefit of others, which all of you guys basically said that in a different wording, but that's our definition of generosity. So it aligns up with everything you guys are saying. And it can be, again, money, possessions, talents, time, and that's all through volunteering and service and helping other people. Okay, it doesn't demand joy. It doesn't demand sacrifice. It doesn't have to be you selling your home and going broke to give to the poor. And so you can say, oh, I'm generous, I'm generous. It doesn't demand that. And sometimes it's not even joyful whenever you're giving or serving or volunteering. And that's okay. You're still being generous. It's not an emotion. It's not a feeling. It's freely giving or sharing things that we value for the benefit of others. It's all others focused. It's not about you. It's what are you doing for somebody else?
Hey, Josh, go back up a little bit on the we value, go back to that same page.
Right here.
The we value, those two words, a lot of it is that, like my definition of generosity is sharing your Suburban. So I used to have an old Suburban, I had 250,000 miles on it. So I would share that with anybody that wanted to take it to the airport and pick up their friends and, tell them good luck. It wasn't quite that bad, but I was really freely giving or sharing the things that I kind of valued. When I got my new Sequoia, my generosity went out the window and I didn't loan it out anymore. So I wasn't quite that bad, but that's what we mean by stuff you value. It's not your garage sale stuff. It's your brand new stuff in your closet that you maybe can give away, or your bad, it's stuff that you value and you really don't want to lose it. That was my personal confession.
Yeah, no, that's good too, because like Dan was saying, it was easier for him to donate and to give out his car. But once he got his new Sequoia, it was like, no, mine, he kind of wrapped his hands around it, didn't want to give so much anymore. So
exactly.
And it's hard. You guys all I'm sure are thinking of something, as Dan said, that story. There's something that you wouldn't share. There's something in our life that we kind of hold and we're like, I'll donate everything else or give everything else, but not that. I feel personally, for most people, it's finances. That's the hardest first step of giving and generosity. Is the first stage is for people to learn how to donate money to an organization or to someone in need. You see people all the time, homeless people sitting on the corners. How many cars drive by them every day and don't want to give them penny or even some change, loose change in their car? And they're just like, I worked hard for this money. They didn't work for this. They're just out here begging. This is my money. I earned it. I deserve it, not them. And it's like, $1 is not going to make or break you. If you give $1 to them, it's going to go a lot longer way than it will for you. But I think that's the first step for people. Is it's hard for them to share money. It's hard for them to share finances. Generosity versus giving. And this is a good conversation right here, but giving could include things that are not valuable to you. Giving could be mandatory, but generosity is always voluntary. Generosity is always voluntary. It comes from the heart. It's a choice that you make. Sometimes we could be forced to give, or we can just give out of necessity, but being generous, an act of generosity, it's 100% voluntary. It's 100% you going out of your way to help somebody else. It's others focused. If I could put in those two words, it's others focused, being focused on others. Does anyone have any commentary or any questions as far as like the difference between giving and generosity? All right, we'll keep moving down a little bit. So pop quiz, which of the following match the definition of generosity? Dad buys a new BMW for a 16-year-old son. A dentist fills cavities for the poor for free. A family donates all the stuff that didn't sell in the garage sale. Or a man donates his old cassette tapes to the poor in Jamaica. Out of those four, anybody can answer this. Which one of those best follows the definition of generosity?
Dentist, for sure.
Dentist.
Yep.
Dentist.
Sounds like a good dentist.
Good dentist. Okay. So yes, Dan, that's the correct answer, right? B, the dentist.
That's very good, very sharp, very, very good. The only thing I was worried about is that some people that are younger may not know what cassette tapes are. Maybe those are super valuable.
And I like it too, because even though this is an act of giving right here, he is giving something from his own possessions to the poor in Jamaica, to someone who's less fortunate as him. But it's his old cassette tape. So what does that tell you? He probably has some new cassette tapes, or he might have got Apple Music like everyone else, or something like that, but it wasn't too valuable to him, right? Or a family, they tried to sell all of this stuff in the garage sale. The things that didn't sell, and if it doesn't sell in a garage sale, it means it's probably just very invaluable. So then they donated the rest of it. Or a dad buying a new BMW for a 16-year-old son. But a dentist using his profession, his talents that he invested into himself into, probably went to school for a long time to become a dentist, probably taking time off of work, or using his free time that he finally has to himself to go out and fill cavities for the poor for free. That's generosity. That is being very generous right there with his time and with his expertise. He's donating that with his intelligence, with his professionalism. He's donating all of that to
And his
the poor
resources
for
as
free.
well.
And his resources as well. Exactly. So that's a great definition of what generosity looks like. Are you playing this video, Dan? Man on the Street video?
No, I'll just make this comment. It's an older video and we've kind of covered all of it already, but we give you these notes in a PDF format, and sometimes we run out of time and don't have time for everything that we have in them, because sometimes we've got a lot. And so this, if you want to watch it, you can just go to that link, and that's the password. So you can keep on going.
All right, got it. So then we'll skip this because this is commentary on the video.
There's also on the generosity tips, so there's a webpage by Happy Rubin, and it lists out, I think, 15 different ways that you can express generosity. So it's kind of just another tip.
Awesome. Understanding generosity. And this is a quote to consider from Paul, who, if you guys are familiar with the Bible, Paul wrote about 2/3 of the New Testament in the Bible. This is his quote. He says, "Though they, the Macedonians, have been going through much trouble and hard times, their wonderful joy in deep poverty have overflowed in rich generosity. For I can testify that they gave not only what they could afford, but far more, and they did it of their own free will." That is a perfect definition of generosity right there. They're going through much trouble. They're going through hard times. We all have our struggles. We all go through life. We all have things that we're struggling with. And sometimes a lot of us aren't financially as stable as we wish we would be. But are we able to still think about others and give to others in those times in our life when we're going through that hard season? Are we able to still be able to think about others and not be so selfish or self-centered, or just think about our own problems and realize that there's people who have it worse than you? And that's one of the things that really opens your eyes on these trips, is you go to these trips with all your problems and things you're going through in life. And when you go see some of these people's situations, it's very humbling. And it makes you very grateful for what you do have. And you realize that your problems aren't so big anymore. And then it makes you focus on others, and it makes you more generous, and it makes you want to help other people a little bit more. And these people, the Macedonians, Paul is saying that they gave not only what they could afford, but far more. That is just a huge act of generosity. They're not, let's say they have $100 and their bills are $50. So that means, okay, they have another 50. Well, they gave above $50 to help these other people out. They couldn't afford to give that much, but they still did it because their act of generosity was so big. And we're not saying go broke to give all your money away to other people, but this is just a great example of just extreme generosity right here in this quote right here from the Bible. Does anyone have any feedback or any comments on this subject right here on this page? All right. So let's have a little bit of a discussion right here. What are the characteristics of these Macedonians? So going through hard times, but they still had wonderful joy in them, even though they were going through hard times. Deep poverty, so they were struggling themselves, yet they still had an act of rich generosity in them. They didn't let their circumstances define their character. They were generous people, and their situation was not going to change or dictate their character of being generous people. They gave more than they could afford, and they gave of their own free will. And even given more than they could afford, again, that could be done financially, but it could also be done with your time. A lot of us value our little bit of free time that we do have, but are you able to give some of that free time to help others that are in need or others that are going through a hard situation? And I love how it says they gave of their own free will. It's a choice. Generosity is a choice. It should never be forced. It should never you being told to be generous. It's an act of your own free will. What stuck out to you guys the most about these Macedonians in that story that we just read about them? Or anything that caught your attention or anything that you liked the most in them?
Wonderful joy for me.
Why is that? What makes a wonderful joy stick out to you?
Despite whatever it is that they're going through, their circumstances, they can still have that joy, knowing that that giving would give them that joy and not concentrating on all the adversity of whatever it is that is going on. And I think that's what we call peace that surpasses all understanding.
That's it. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to do that. But the more grateful you are for your life and your circumstances, your situation, the easier it is to have that joy, that peace that goes beyond all understanding. It's easier to have that when you realize that you have more than you think that you have, and that there's a lot of people who have it that are worse off than you are. And you have that, it kind of shifts your mindset. A lot of people who are self-centered, they're thinking about themselves too much. They're thinking about their problems too much, and they're not looking at others around them, whether it's your immediate family, your friends, your coworkers, anyone around you. Whenever you start focusing on other people, it makes you more generous. It makes you more generous. Let's get one more statement from anyone else. What else stuck out to you guys from that story about the Macedonians?
I feel like it wasn't really saying this, but I'm thinking they're finding value in things that are not money or not even food. Like they're finding value in, having each other or things that, are not monetary in any way. And so then out of that joy of just, like you said, being content, then they can give stuff away. And I also kind of imagine that they're just having this big generosity fest, like they're giving stuff away to their neighbor and then another neighbor is giving stuff to them. So it kind of seems like that happens when you start being generous, then you find other people are generous to you, or at least you appreciate it more when somebody gives you something, even though you didn't expect it.
I love that. Like you said, they're finding value in something else, and that's being generous. There's another Bible scripture that comes to my mind right here, and it says, "Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." And I'm sure all of you have experienced that at one point in your life. When you help somebody else, when you do something for somebody else, you feel good. You feel light. You feel joy. You feel peace, happiness. You feel valued. You feel like you've done something for somebody else. You feel like you have purpose whenever you help somebody else. So I love that verse right there. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. You get refreshed when you help people. You get your cup full whenever you help other people. So let's this is going to be an open discussion, if that's okay with Boss Man Dan. Discuss whether it is possible to have deep poverty and wonderful joy at the same time. And you kind of just covered that. I'm sorry, I couldn't see your name. I think, was it Alicia that was talking right now?
Yes, Alicia.
Yeah, okay, Alicia was talking. And you kind of touched on this, that they were finding value somewhere else. Yes, they're in deep poverty, but they had that wonderful joy at the same time. And how was that? It was because they were finding value in other things. They weren't just Their happiness does not lie in their finances. Their happiness doesn't lie only if all their bills are paid, then they're happy. Their happiness is not in their money. They have joy at the same time, that peace that goes beyond all understanding that Maggie was talking about. So let's have this open discussion right here. Someone could comment on this, or the second one, which is discuss whether you have to be wealthy to be generous.
I think on the first top part, Josh, the thing that I think about sometimes is some people live with dirt floors, and their homes are just dirt floors and, you know, whatever they can get up on the walls. And the ones that strike me a little bit are the ones that have the really clean dirt floors. They're really clean. You know, they may not have anything, but it's clean and it's nice and it's organized. I went to Czechoslovakia a long time ago when it was very communist, and we went to this one family's little, you know, one big room was kind of what their thing was, and they had a loft area. But what really deeply impressed me was how much pride that wife had in her little house, and how well she took care of it, and how she maybe didn't have a whole lot of stuff, but it was nicely decorated. And so I think that kind of expresses joy sometimes, because that the person that doesn't have much values in a sense what they have, and they express their joy to other people by how they take care of what they have. I will say this, it's, you know, I've always told people, it's always easier to be generous. I mean, I go, I'd rather not be in deep poverty to try to test that. Let's just put it that way. To be real honest with you, I'd rather have money. And so that's just another level of generosity. I think when we're in Lebanon, what would you say was an example to you, Josh, of something like this?
I was just gonna say that whenever we went to the school, I think it was the second day, I'm forgetting the school's name. It was right there in the middle of a Muslim community, but they're doing such a wonderful job with those kids that the whole Muslim community respects them, takes care of them and everything. We all went to home visits. We split up in like 3 different groups and went out to different parts of the community and visited homes. And there was one guy there who was a teacher at the school, and he has his children in the school, his wife in the school. And we go into his house, and it was a war-torn building that he lived in. Think of like a apartment complex, but there was literal bullet holes like this big from like tanks and machine guns that hit that building. It was explosion marks on the building as well too. And they lived in this building, and you go into his house, and it was like the third of a normal living room, the average living room. Think of the average living room, your living room, cut it into a third. That was the size of his entire house. And it was just one room. And he put a sheet up halfway through that room. And on one side of that sheet was their living room, bedroom, their dining room. On the other side of the sheet was their bathroom and kitchen. That was it. That was everything that they owned. And they had one rug in there, one bed that the whole family shared. What I'm saying is they had absolutely nothing, but it was the most well-kept place you would ever see. It was like exquisite how clean that place was. And their school books they had their own little area in there. The kids' dolls were put up nice and neat. You go in that kitchen, and there was no room for anything, but the pots and pans they did have were all organized, perfectly clean, and they valued it. You could tell they were so grateful for what they had. Every little thing that they had, they valued it. They kept it clean. They cherished it. And that family had so much joy. They were so excited for us to come over, and they were so excited to show us their little home, and just they wanted to share a meal with us. They wanted us to stay for a couple hours and sit and talk with them, and they just had so much joy to them. And it's so confusing to the American mindset to know, like, you guys have nothing yet you're so joyful. When you see people in America or all over the world who have so much yet they're so depressed, or they're not satisfied. They want more. People with high incomes, but they want more. These people had nothing, but they were so satisfied. fulfilled and they all had joy. That really stuck out to me.
And they share, like you say, they out of their not having enough, they freely invite you to come and sit with them in their table and give you the best that they have. Even if they don't, even out of their poverty, they give you whatever they have.
Yes.
Voluntarily.
There was Dan, you remember the people, it was at YWAM. This family, they were running off of generators and they only had enough power in this generator to run electricity for 2 hours a day. And they turned their generators on for us to come visit them. And it's like, they only get 2 hours of light a day. That means when it's nighttime, they got nothing. It's you can't do anything. You can't operate in the dark and they don't have light. But they gave us their little electricity that they had. They gave it to us. There was families who only had enough food to get them to tomorrow and they didn't know what they were going to do for their next meal. Yet they offered to cook for us. And how does that make sense? You guys don't, what are you going to eat tonight for dinner? How are you going to feed your kids? But they were so generous. They wanted to share with us. They invited us in. They wanted to give us everything that they had when they already had nothing. So it was very humbling is the one word I could say. And that kind of goes into the second part right here, discuss whether you have to be wealthy to be generous. And you guys can hear from those stories and those examples, these people were the opposite of wealthy, yet they had the most generous hearts that I've ever seen. You got anything there, Dan?
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I heard a great quote once that said, "The joy in our lives has little to do with the circumstances of our lives, but everything to do with the focus." And I think that's a very good description of kind of having joy, even though in poverty, just this idea of what are we focusing on, even when our circumstances can be rough.
Yes. I love that quote. Say that quote one more time for me.
The joy in our lives has little to do with the circumstances of our lives and everything to do with the focus.
Everything to do with focus. And that's what I was kind of saying earlier, others focused. When you're others focused, you become generous because it's not about you anymore. You want to, you're focused on others. You see their situations, you see their problems. And then their first thing is, how can I help them? And then out of that comes generosity. You're going to start giving and donating, being generous with whatever's valuable to you to help them out. But when you're self-centered, you cannot be generous. Whenever you're just thinking about yourself and focus on your own situation, it's very hard to be generous when you're not others focused. So I love that quote. It's saying, where is your focus at? So how do you apply this quote to your life? They gave not only what they could afford, but far more, and they did it of their own free will. How do you guys apply that quote to your life?
I think that goes to giving of your time and your skill set. You know, we all come from different walks of life and we have different educational backgrounds and working backgrounds that we can teach other people. And I think there's a lot of value in that I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves credit for.
A lot of value in that you don't give yourself credit for. It's exactly like you said. It's their time, it's their skill set. That's huge. You know, when we go down to Power Week down in Mexico to this orphanage, you know, there's people with skill sets there that is very valued there because we're working with some heavy machinery, or there's some people who just grab a shovel and start digging, whatever. But you see, like, some skill sets are very valued there, where there's people working on a generator to get electricity for this orphanage. Well, hey, Power Plus excels in generators and providing electricity. So boom, their skill set is able to be given in a generous way to help out this orphanage. So I love how you mentioned skill set right there.
One of the things on that last statement is the guy that runs the orphanage that we're going to, he's an American guy. He flips houses. He has 4 or 5 houses. He has a crew. He has this, he has that. And we've been moving into a recession in housing. And, I'll never forget what he told me. We were thinking about the trip, what we're going to do. Can we keep everybody busy? This, that, and the other thing. And I said, how's your house thing going? He says, well, it's tightening up. There's, it's harder. It's just, there's not as much out there and you have to be super careful. But he says, it just gives me more time to go down to Mexico and do more stuff. And I'm shaking my head and I go, here's the guy, he could be worrying about this and worrying about that. And he's just looking at the opportunity to go do more. And that's just the kind of people you just want to have them in your life.
And I love him too, because him working on these projects and flipping homes, it's all about your budget. It's all about budgeting and counting the cost on those projects. And he takes his skill set and invests it into that orphanage. So he was showing us his spreadsheet last year, and the spreadsheet was so detailed. It looked as if it was a business owner about to flip a home or doing a project on a home or something. It was really cool to see. So it goes into that last statement again about, using your skill set to become generous. All right, moving on. You got anything here, Dan?
Yeah, maybe let me take it. I'll just have you move through the slides. So, because we got nine minutes for me not to break my promise the first night.
Okay.
So finding your passion, go ahead and go down to page 18. One of the exercises that you don't have to do because we're running a little tight is identify as many types of people that are in need of generosity, and there are at least 7. And keep going, Josh. And you guys would have probably come up with this. These are ones that we've identified: people who are living in poverty, water, food, and homelessness, people who are sick, people who are oppressed, human rights violations, racism. And when I was in Serbia, it was the gypsies were totally oppressed by everybody. Everybody hated them. And so they just lived in abject poverty all the time. People who don't have a loving family. That's a big deal. People who were affected by a disaster. That's a big deal. We just went to Lebanon, and we're back for 3 months, and then there's this huge earthquake in Turkey. And it's just Turkey and Syria. And it's so out of the news right now. And I go, man, 50,000 people have died in this thing. That's big. And so those poor people there in that area, it's just, it's a disaster, big time. People who need skills, job training, literacy, people who need spiritual guidance. And so those are 7 that we've kind of identified as being people in need. Keep on going to page 20. Some of the people in need, there's some things that don't directly address people. And so the only filter that we have for the grants that we write is there's some passions, and there's some nonprofits that deal with animals, political causes, the environment, and pure medical research. And the only thing we ask you to do is don't use those for your grants. Try to just really focus on the ones that are dealing with people. And keep on going, Josh. Finding your passion. It's a powerful or compelling emotion or feeling. I will say this: people are wired different. Some people are feeling people. They're maybe a little extreme up and down sometimes. They're just feelers. And some people are more like accountants. They're logical. And so sometimes the word passion has certain meanings, and I think passion really resonates with people that are feeling, people that are really like passionate about life. And it's not always so it doesn't always have such big meaning to the logical, the accountant types, the business types. And so sometimes I just say, what is it that really gives you, that you have a high interest in, that you want to do something about? And so I don't want you to get all hung up on the word passion. It's great. It's a great word. But if it doesn't mean as much to you as maybe some other people, just look for the areas of high interest. Use your intellect, use your logic. You know, what is it that you like? Where do you see the needs? And maybe drift to one of those and make that, you know, what you take a look at. I have one video link down there. I don't think I have enough time. Let me see what's on the next page. Okay, let's do, I want you to spend some time this week contemplating the types of people you are most passionate about or you have the most high interest in. Select one type and write a few sentences on why you are passionate about those people or think you could become passionate about them. You know, like some people like kids, some people like abused situations, some people, you know, it's just all over the place. So, you know, take yourself, your person, and say, what is it that I have an interest in helping with? The other thing we'd like you to do is, if you're on Facebook, and I know not everybody is, but if you're on there, if you would join our Giving University page, that's exactly, if you look that up, it takes you right to it, and join it. And we always try to keep updated on that page with stuff we're doing, classes we're having, stories. We get a lot of stories on these $1,000 grants of people. They have a cool story about something they didn't know about, or something that was around the block and they had no idea. And so we just like you to join it and add whatever you can. If you think if you think Josh is a good teacher, put that on there. We need to kind of help him out here. So, and the other one we're on is Instagram, and just under Giving University. So if you don't mind joining one of those and being part of it, that would be a lot of fun. Plus, you should get a lot of information from us. We don't do such a hot job on our website, but we do a pretty good job on those 2 pages. And Josh, if you want to come to the conclusion, check your email for the class recap, or you'll get a PDF of these slides. Review the givinguniversity.org website. There's a video on the front page that kind of spells out it's another look at what we're doing. On the student page, on our web page, there's one of the pages that's called student page, and the ones of you that are good students are probably familiar with it. The ones of you that are slackers probably haven't looked at it yet. And so on the student page, I want you for next week to download the 990 analysis form and print out a couple. Because next week, Josh said it was an exciting week, and I wasn't quite sure where he was going with that. It's exciting because you learn about how you can know if a nonprofit is not so good or if they're just outstanding. However, it's a little more challenging to teach because it features tax returns. Okay, so how fun can that be? Tax returns? Yeah, tell me about it. And so, but if you download that form, it's a 1-page form, and if you learn to master that form a little bit, this will really give you insight into whether or not, and we're not just about the money part. However, if they're squandering and wasting money, we don't want you wasting your time. And so this will help you navigate those waters to see if it's a good nonprofit. We had a lady that took our class down in South Orange County. She had donated $110,000 to a pastor, and he ended up being a fraud. And so she came to our class, I think a little bit as part of her recovery, because after an event like that, most of us probably wouldn't want to give anything to anybody. And so we, if she had had the information we share with you guys, and she had used it, that wouldn't have happened. There's a, if you want to get ahead, there's a Poverty Inc. video link on that page. And there's a short questionnaire that you fill out, and that's one of the assignments, but that's a extremely good video of working in third world countries and navigating how poverty fits in with it all, how the culture fits in, how you can mess up a culture by wrecking businesses that are in those cultures. So it's a really just a super great video. And so, that being said, are there any, like it's 7:01, so we did good. And Josh has done a great job. This is the first time he taught this, just so you know. And he's outstanding. He's got a great heart and has a lot of fun with this. And so it's really cool to see. Any questions? Hannah looks good. Owen looks good. Alicia, are you good? Are you going to give Josh like a thumbs up and tell your cousin that we did good tonight?
Yes, definitely.
You don't have to tell the truth. We're not we're teaching generosity, not truth.
Emma got married, right?
No, Emmy didn't get married. Emmy's friend got married.
It was her friend that got married.
To what's the second name you had on that?
Greg.
Yeah, Greg got married to Emmy's friend.
Oh, okay, got it.
Actually, let me stop the